That line, our comments have exploded, always means the show is ready to start. I'm here with you this week, Jeff Chernakova with Lancaster Connects, broadcast from Gardner's Mattress and More. With this backdrop, that means it's a solo show. That means I'm in the office because Ben, my partner in crime here, or should I say partner in sleep? I don't know. You decide. He is at the beach this week with his family enjoying vacation. I just came off of vacation last week. So we are getting recharged and rested here to continue on as we're now officially, I can't even believe it, already in the back half of 2024. We're closer to Christmas than we're not, if you can believe that. I guess that's why it's called Christmas in July. That would make sense, wouldn't it? But hope you're staying cool. It's been a hot one here yesterday and today. I know I was outside helping my son with his pickup truck yesterday, and man, it was hot. But hope you're staying cool and enjoying summer. We're right in the middle of it. Ben's checking in from Cape May. He's supposed to be on vacation, but I guess he just can't help himself. Like all of our other fans at Lancaster Connects, they're wanting to tune in every Monday at 2:00 when we broadcast out on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And then, of course, we hit all the podcast players as the week marches on. So thanks for tuning in. I'm going to dig right into it. We're not going to banter because I don't have my partner in banter, partner in crime, partner in sleep. Either way, he's not here with me. So we're going to jump in with our great guest. I'm really excited to learn more about Prima Theater. We have Mitch Nugent, the founder of Prima Theater, with us. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Well, greetings. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, this is what we love about the show. We get to meet new, exciting people, bringing a lot of fun, a lot of experience, a lot of new things to Lancaster County, whether that's directly helping people with charities or enhancing our community with vibrancy, culture, experience. And that's, I think, what we're here to talk about today. So before we jump in, I just want to ask you, as you know, the founder of Prima Theater, and you work, this is, as you said in the pre-show, this is your 9 to 5, but it's so much more than that. What was that spark? What was that first big theater experience that you had, and why did you love it?
Sure. Well, truthfully, I grew up on 70s rock and roll, and that included some rock musicals. So, I grew up on Elton John and Billy Joel and Queen, and some of those musicals were like Rent and Jesus Christ Superstar. But these were like epic performances that spoke to me. And so they were stories and music that produced awe and wonder. And so that has continued into the work that I do today.
Wonderful. You kind of taken me back there. Rent and Jesus Christ Superstar. Yeah. A lot of fun.
We're aging ourselves here, my friend. But
boy, I had a thought while I was just lounging this weekend at the cabin we rented. And I'm like, man, 50 is right around the corner.
Yes.
And when I was younger, I used to think of people who were 50 as old, right? But I mean, I don't feel old, but yeah, you're right. It creeps up on you like that. So we love the rock musicals. We love the costumes. We love the flair. We love all of the presence and vibrancy that comes with it. How does this translate into creating Prima Theater? How did it begin?
Sure. Well, my wife and I were fairly new to the area. We were curious what it would look like for Lancaster to have an exciting and contemporary cultural outlet, one where it would be the most exciting and welcoming cultural hub in the region. And so it started out of curiosity. What would it look like if, when you left a place that was a cultural hub, if you felt like you had Red Bull to the soul, right? Like, what would that experience be? So we came to Lancaster in 2006, working for theaters in the area, quickly began, imagining what that kind of creative environment would look like with concerts and theater that would feature some of the nation's finest talent. And so we were nomadic from 2010 to 2018 at 15 different venues across the region. And then in 2018, got our own venue on the west side of Lancaster City with free parking. It's an immersive space. So every time you come, it's a different seating setup, whether it's in the round with seating on four sides or in a thrust and a U-shaped seating. So it's always sort of a new and exciting experience at the theater.
That's very cool. I mean, I like a lot about what you just said. First of all, bringing amazing people together. Looking at your About Us page, I mean, first of all, they look really happy, which is part of your mission, right? Like adding, I forget how you say it, but you'll say it better than me.
Well, the mission is really, our aim is to invigorate people's lives with fresh theatrical experiences. And so it needs to be fresh. It needs to feel like it's full of energy, because we want to be a place that you leave feeling more energized. Because I don't know, maybe this has been your experience, but I find that like life's greatest moments are those beautiful experiences that we share with the people who matter to us. And sometimes that happens in venues like ours, and sometimes it happens out in nature. This happens in a variety of locations. But my goal really is to provide a place that you can have some of those beautiful experiences shared with the people who matter to you. And so to provide that for our community, where people can live life to the full, to have their lives energized. So I hope that for, our communities, our colleagues, our loved ones, and if we can achieve that as a nonprofit organization, then, I can die happy.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And thank you for clarifying that. So your people on your team definitely look invigorated. I mean, just as a side note, like fantastic headshots, right?
Well, maybe they've gotten their sleep. They got their good mattresses from Gardner's, right?
Yes. Yes. The running joke about realtors is which realtor shows up, the one from 20 years ago or the one today, right? Like that's the running joke. You all have great invigorated headshots. But I love that you shared you got started and you were nomadic, is how you put it. Like, I love that you just took your idea and said, you know what, we don't need a place. We're going to bring the theater and the show to the people, and we're going to get started. So I love that you did that. And now you're on the west end side of town. Where again are you?
Yeah, so it used to be the Hamilton Ballroom, and so the Hamilton Watch Companies had multiple buildings here, a few blocks from Franklin and Marshall College. And so if some weddings happen in the Hamilton Ballroom, we did about a $750,000 renovation to this space, and it continues to be one of those best kept cultural secrets. Yep. But more and more, thousands of folks are coming in, experiencing these experiential concerts that have that dose of theatricality to them, and also these like contemporary theater pieces that happen. So one of the benefits is you're talking right on the edge of Lancaster City. You can go in for the dining experiences and what have you, but it's free parking just on the outside of the city. So some of those benefits of just feeling like it's a comfortable environment for everyone.
Yeah. I love that you bring that up, and I'm so glad that you're here on the show today, because like I have admittedly, like I avoid big cities. So like catching theater in New York City is just not my thing. It's not my cup of tea. I don't want to deal with crowds. It's not my jam. But Prima Theater, free parking, west side of town, a little bit of city, easy to get to, comfortable. That's very cool to me. So I think my wife and I will be having a date night here at one of your upcoming shows soon.
This whole season has a load of, it's perfect date nights, but it's also some family-friendly content as well. And so it's fitting to Lancaster. But there's an accessibility to it in that there's only 130 seats in the theater. Somewhere between 150, 130 seats. So you're talking an intimate experience where you're right in proximity of these internationally renowned performers. So there's just an energy in the room that you can't beat.
Yeah, love that. I picked up too on the fact that you said an immersive show experience because it's not the same each time. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like when you're planning a show, what comes first, the plan for the show or the seating? Is it a mix of both? Are you thinking about the seating in relation to the show and bringing people in closer to the talent? How does that all play out?
Yes, I mean, it's always concept first. And then what's the best seating arrangement to experience the concept? So this September is an original concert experience we're calling Golden Era. So it's like a 1920s to 1950s jazz club experience. And so you've got, what would it look like to be in a jazz club? So you got like 2-person cabaret tables, and the Ritz and the glitz and glamour of the Gatsby era. And so, creating that environment, as you can see in that rendering there, for those that are able to watch at the moment, they're and see our website, you can see a glimpse of what the set rendering is going to be with those, Gatsby era chandeliers and that type of environment. So it's going to be just such fun. Similarly with illumination, as we said, what would it be like if you were immersed in a holiday concert experience with hundreds of artificial candles, of course, indoors. So we decided what would be the most immersive experience. And immersive is like this word that scares some of us, in the idea that, somebody's going to come and like sit on my lap or something, right? Like that's not the experience. But the idea that you feel like you're a part of it, without being forced to actively do anything. But the idea of the baby grand piano in the center of the room and musicians surrounding the audience, there's just something that's uniquely experiential because let's face it, the alternative is Netflix and it's in our couches, right? It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot easier. But that's not the shared experiences that make life worth the living. And so the idea is coming out and actually experiencing something. Too long, these theater experiences are sort of like in a box, right? Like they're on a stage, it's a mile away from you, and you can kind of easily disengage. In Prima World, you feel a lot more a part of it.
Yeah. Speaking of disengaging and taking in a theatrical experience, this might seem like an out of left field question, but I'm going to ask it. Are cell phones allowed?
Yeah, and what we see them is, especially in the concerts, right? If we're doing a Motown show or a Queen and Journey concert, oh my goodness, we're telling people to take it out, right?
Okay.
So there are certain theater experiences where it's less appropriate, and we encourage folks to put it away for a little bit of time. But it's all done with a playful sensibility. So this isn't. I would say this isn't your grandma's musical theater where there are certain behaviors and expectations that you don't know exactly. For some folks, it's the theater world feels inaccessible and unaffordable, and that is not the experience in Prima World. We're looking to create a welcoming and exciting environment for everybody.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. On the note of affordability. So what, I was pretty surprised, you build out your seating like the Golden Era one, 2-person cabaret tables. I mean, that's an expense. Like seating becomes an expense, not a fixed cost, right? Whereas like a big theater in a box with stadium seats bolted down, that was invested in once and they're going to get 10, 15 years out of that.
Yeah.
You create a concept, the seating becomes this new variable expense. So, but you said affordability. So what are the range of ticket prices for your shows?
Sure. I mean, so we have programs to make it accessible because we truthfully believe that creativity should be accessible for everyone. So we have a texting program where folks can sign up to have subsidized tickets available to them. So you got a whole range. So, I mean, the average ticket for an experience, let's say in New York, you're talking $140 plus to go to the theater. And locally, to be able to see a show on an average of about $50 for a ticket. But having that high Broadway level caliber performances, you're getting all of that minus the travel costs, right? So, so it's a whole variety. But you're talking about $50. But as you all know, you go out for any experience at this point. You go out to a restaurant or what have you. It's an expense.
Yeah.
But the joy of the Prima experience is to feel like you're in a larger city in terms of the caliber of performance that you're receiving, but you're right here at home in an area that deserves this kind of cultural energy.
Yeah. But I mean, and I hope people listening and why, especially if you're watching, or I should say more correctly, Mitch, we have a word around here. It's called watching, right? It's what happens. It's what happens when I try to describe the fact that you can watch us and you can listen to us. So when you're watching, you can pick up Mitch's energy, right? And you can feel it coming through the screen, coming through your speakers. So imagine what goes on at the actual show, right? I think I can't wait to get there. The Illumination show, my wife's going to love. Probably get out to Golden Era because I want to take it in a little sooner than later. But my wife loves all the Christmassy stuff, so
sure,
like it'll be very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
So. You said creativity should be made affordable and accessible, and you're also a 501c3, correct?
Yeah, so correct.
Walk us through that, because that's not easy to attain. I know there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of red tape you sometimes have to go through. Was that always the vision, or is it something that evolved?
Yeah, to do the type of work that we do, that we're producing original material most often, and that these concepts are boutique in nature. These ideas, like we're doing an East Coast premiere of a play that, those kinds of like risky moves. These original content pieces, quite often, it takes a community and a sense of generosity that this community uniquely has. And so as a nonprofit organization, it is truly focused about invigorating lives in our community. And so the generosity of our region truly fuels what we do, from all of the initiatives, whether it be diversity efforts and inclusion efforts, to our Next Gen initiative, where over about 55% of our interns come from some type of disability background. There is all kinds of work happening, not just performances. Of course, that's the public-facing work that we do, but there is all kinds of layers of community service happening at the theater. So whether it's youth or engaging the historically marginalized groups within our community, or putting on original shows that you would not expect in our tertiary market, that's the type of investment that is coming from the generosity of our Lancaster region.
Yeah. So really being able to perpetuate more through the ability to be a nonprofit. Because putting on original art, which is what you're doing, is just expensive.
Yeah, so about over 60% of our operations comes from the generosity of contributed income of people saying, hey, this matters. Like, this is invigorating my life. And I know that that's important to me. So I want to share that and spread that. So I think of some of the folks that you've had on the show before, folks like those over at the High Foundation.
I was just going to mention them.
Yeah, the Community Foundation. some of these like leaders in our community to say, hey, this matters. And then I think of the individual donors, the what we call Prima friends, the sponsors, the folks like Tono Group Architects and Proto, and then EB, and there's just loads of businesses like Woodstream that have said, hey, this matters. And there's, as you all know, just like the restaurant scene in our region, you want to have a load of different flavors, right? Like nobody wants just in town to be like, okay, we've got cheeseburgers and that's it, right? Like you want to have all types of layers and flavors and levels of experience. And so we're just glad to be part of the overall palette that is the arts in our county.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is in our county, in our backyard, which is so very cool, right? That we have something like this locally. And we have there's certainly other ways you can take in theater. You have Fulton, you have Sight and Sound, Magic and Wonder Theater has been on our show. Yeah. There's all different types of theater. And then you have traveling theater, which comes right across the street from us with the paranormal spooky circus, as I call it. Right? But you're here to stay and here to serve our community. And, I'm glad that you touched on High Foundation. We had Robin Stauffer on previously on the show. And I think it's important to bring them up because people see the signs, they see the H around town, right? They see it over at Granite Run. They see it on the east side of town where the original business still operates, the high companies operates. And I think we know as people living in our county and in our city, they do a lot of good, but here we get to see exactly where that good goes and what it means.
Yep. There's so many ways that are unseen. And, the case in point is July, I think it's 25th. They're doing free concerts, just like what Long's Park does, but another offering over at Greenfield, where we're going to have a Queen and Journey music concert with folks coming from Chicago and New York City to perform, a full band from Nashville, all coming in. And so this level of invigoration doesn't just happen at the theater. Folks like high companies in Greenfield are hosting these kinds of free concerts. So Prima will be out on July 25th for a free concert on the Greenfield lawn.
Yeah, very cool. That's very cool. You referenced this. I think this is what you were saying a few minutes back about bringing in people to the theater in different ways than just being a butt in the seat with a ticket in hand. You said you involved the youth. Obviously, putting on a show has many different facets. It's not just the people on stage. It's lighting, it's sound, it's production, it's set building. Are you able to engage some of the kids in our community with any of those jobs, any of those experiences?
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, I wasn't doing well in high school. And I had an internship at a theater in upstate New York that was transformative. And it wasn't about the potential of working in the performing arts. It was the reality of like people who actually gave me time and focus and hands-on experience. So one of the things that I enjoy so much in this environment here at Prima is the opportunity to just show some care, right, to the next generation, hands-on opportunities, because the reality is job transferable skills can happen in an environment like this. So at the theater, the wild thing is right, the next generation isn't taking phone calls very easily, right? Like they're texting. So to actually do customer service skills, like they're getting those kinds of opportunities at the theater. They can learn electricity in the lighting, right? Like some of the basics of like, how does the technology work? So those kinds of, whether it's be marketing skills, customer service, some of those more technical skills, they can work backstage and learn some of the intricacies. I mean, like, imagine 100 years ago, a lot of people would know how to sew. Well, sewing happens in the costumes world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've had, numerous people figuring out, like, well, somebody's got to do it. So it takes a village. We all come together, and we're learning a lot of skills. So you got kids, specifically, I'm thinking of underserved youth are not just in urban settings. Sometimes they're in rural settings. And so we've got folks who, young people, whether they're high school or college age, coming in from a variety of underserved populations, and getting hands-on skills, like that's gets me pumped up. And so that's an area that we've certainly focused on, while still that's about invigorating lives of the youth through what we do. But the performances certainly are sort of the main meat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love that we got there in the conversation about bringing some of the youth in and the skills. And you touched on it about your high school journey wasn't great. And, this connection reinvigorated something for you, which is awesome. And I'm going to mention what I'm going to mention. I'm not going to turn our conversation political at all, but obviously this weekend's events were impactful, positively, negatively. I don't know what much positive, but I want to say this. What we learned about the young gentleman in Butler that fired that shot is he sat alone at lunch. Now, I'm not making any statement about that person other than the fact that peers in school said this child sat alone at lunch. And we all know those stories. Maybe some of our watchers, listeners and watchers, maybe you sat alone at lunch. I know I did. We moved around a lot as a kid. And whatever happens as a result of this past weekend, here's the challenge I'd like to put out. Create time and space in your day so no one sits alone. Even as adults, right? Like it's rough going into a networking event, right? Like welcome that person into your little clique, into your little circle. You just never know when somebody needs that welcoming moment in their life, and especially our kids, because there's so much going on in their heads, in their lives. Peer pressure, social media, the world they're growing up in. We need people to not sit alone. And thanks for making seats in your theater, man. Yeah.
I hear you that one of the challenges that we had early on was the reality of just how we all want to feel seen and loved. And that the actual mission of what we're doing is to create that kind of beautiful experience for people where people feel seen, that they're not a transaction. They're not a butt in a seat. This is this is somebody who matters. And man, if we can do that individually in our lives and then in our organizations, then, we can certainly sort of move the dial forward and perhaps away from some of the circumstances that disunite us.
Yeah, exactly.
It reminds me, there was one performance, a gentleman was standing up, he was singing along to the songs of a show. Okay, so we're doing a concert, it's pop music that everybody knows and loves. And he's wearing a camouflage jacket with an American flag on his arm and a MAGA hat on. And in the, generally moderate theater world, that's
an outlier.
Can be, an outlier. And right next to him, singing the exact same song, was a pregnant lesbian couple. And it brought me to tears. Because the reality is, where does that happen in our universe these days?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, that's a dose of heaven right there, right? Like, there's some sense of those two groups perhaps would not agree on anything. And yet in that moment, this experience brought these people together. I was like, oh goodness, that's beyond words of going, okay, that's wonder and awe. That makes life worth a living. That we could come into a room together with all the things that would separate us and share something special.
Yep. I love it. And that's, it's really been on my mind and heart this weekend about no one sits alone. And like, here we are today, right? And you got this 150, 130, I guess your seating ebbs and flows by design, right? But you got 100 plus opportunities to make those interactions and connections happen. And that's just so very cool. Such a great moment. So one question I wanted to ask you, what has been some of the bigger successes or more poignant, impactful moments that you've seen as a result of what happens on stage in the theater? That was one of them. That's really great. Are there any others that come to mind?
Yeah, certainly during the heights of COVID were some of the moments that I was most proud of our organization, because we had that nomadic history. It wasn't foreign to us to have to pivot. And so the moments when we took bands on the back of flatbed trucks and we did parking lot concerts with 500 plus people, amidst George Floyd's murder, we did concerts related to bringing our community together and the perspectives that were variant at the time, and exploring what can unite us in those moments. And so, goodness, the instead of, so many organizations at that point were in survival mode, specifically nonprofit performing arts. And one local leader says to me, if your whole industry is going down, which is what it felt like at the time, do what you're going to be proud of in 5 years. And so that took the focus away from self-survival and into how can we serve. And so we did streaming content internationally that raised funds for local performing artists that were out of work, a toilet paper raffle that raised thousands of dollars for, you remember that? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The toilet paper hoarding moments.
Those kinds of experiences, but also the times when, we did a production of Godspell that I can recall, and chose that in this era where folks that look like you and me, white men, it's not necessarily the most respected, or perhaps in this era we haven't always earned it. And so at that point, people could see more from as far as spiritual leaders in Oprah than they could in white men. And so we did the production of Godspell, which is based on the Jesus story with a black female playing the role of Jesus. And that certainly shook things up, as you can imagine. But I'll never forget a grandmother coming to me in tears afterwards with her granddaughter in tow, saying, like, to see someone in that kind of leadership role who looks like her, that's going to impact her for years to come. And so those kinds of experiences where you recognize it's not entertainment. This is the little stamps on people's lives, the little memories that lead us to be the best versions of ourselves we can.
Yeah, I love it. Love that you're able to make those connections. So obviously you're a big little production, right? You're not 500 seats, you're not 1,000 seats, but you got all the same things going on that happen in those bigger venues. And so what do you need from the community? Like how?
Sure.
So I'll frame it this way in this context. We urge our people who listen and watch, our watchers and fans, time, talents, and treasure, right? And so if you have time to offer, connect with our guests. If you have money, obviously money's always good. And then if you have talents, there's ways to connect. So what do we need to help Prima continue to make these amazing moments happen?
Sure. I mean, for the business leaders out there, imagine from an employee retention standpoint, giving your employees and your top clients access to these experiences. Right. So it's a tax write-off for a contribution. You get brand recognition and you get tickets to give to people. So how better to feel like a VIP when you can give people an experience that they come back and say thank you for that. And so sponsoring shows or a season, that makes a world of a difference. And then also for those of us who might not be in that kind of position is an opportunity to subscribe. So to get these kinds of cultural experiences on our calendars with complete ability to do rescheduling with no fees, to imagine to get these kinds of experiences on your calendar for the year, you don't have to think about it. But if something comes up that you can reschedule for less than the cost of Netflix over the years, I mean, like that's. You can't really beat the deal. So I would say, hey, like get tickets, make a priority out of having your most invigorated life. And so whether it's sponsoring or it's ushering for shows, which people can find out on our website, how to do that or email us. So I say, get tickets, like try it out. Just give it a chance. We know that there's been in our area that's wonderfully, richly steeped in history. People have traditions of what they do culturally in this region. So I say, hey, like give it a chance. Give Prima a chance, and yes, see what that experience is like.
Yeah, love it. So the subscribe thing. So I love that. It sounds like there's no change fees, right? Like you buy an airline ticket on some of the major airlines. It's like, well, we ding you for $100 here and $50 there. Sounds like none of that going on.
Yeah, it's such an opportunity to embrace like your most bold and beautiful life with these experiences on your calendar, and then have fee-free rescheduling. And so the season is just about to start. Goodness, in something around less than 70 days with Golden Era starting. And so the best experience of Prima and the best seats are available to subscribers currently. So this is the time to just kind of take a leap. And, so often I think we're on that gerbil wheel of life where it's like the same rote routine that we repeat over and over again and then wonder why our lives don't feel fulfilling. Like what if we shook it up a little bit, like Etch-a-Sketch life and try out putting something like regular experiences on our calendar that are going to shake up the norm.
Yeah, I love that. Love the Etch-a-Sketch shake of life. I love that. I think everybody could for sure take that away of, the old husband, wife, partner conversation. What's for dinner? What do you want for dinner? I don't know. My pro tip, my wife knows this, but I always ask her, I bet you can't guess where I'm taking you to your favorite place. And then whatever she says, like, oh my gosh, you got it. Right. But shake up the life in the shake up that Etch-a-Sketch of life. I love that analogy.
Yeah, such an opportunity to disrupt the norm that is sometimes the status quo that gets cobwebby.
Yep. Love it. So primatheater.org is the place to go to learn more about upcoming shows. As you said, the season's starting in about 2 months. Golden Era, which is your show harkening back to the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, intimate seating. You never know who you might be sitting beside, but that's the point, right? Meet new people, be invigorated. As we look to wrap up, what do you want people to most know about the season, about what's coming up, where to go, social media channels, all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, what I want people to leave with about Prima is that it's a place that we'd love to see everybody, that we would love for folks to take the risk to try us out and try seeing if it is the welcoming and most exciting cultural hub in the region that we're aiming for. So just encourage folks to, check us out on the website at primatheater.org. And we'd love to see you at Prima.
Love it. Mitch, this has been a joy. We've gotten to know Prima. We've got to know what goes on, your amazing crew, the experiences you give to the community, the ways you bring others in. But it's time to get to know you just a little bit better with our connection cocktail. And so I guess I have all the questions because my partner in sleep, in crime, and in banter is not here. So
well, where's the delivered cocktails? I mean, like this, we need.
Yeah, I know, right?
Mojito.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of whiskey in here. No, just kidding. It's water. If only. At any rate, what is the one talent you wish you had?
Okay, so I am an avid pickleball player. And so the talent that I wish I would have is to just be pro. So
pro pickleballer.
Pro pickleball. They really needed to come up with a better name for the sport. But,
I've wondered where it got started. I've never played, but man, people throw down on it. Ben and I were at Universal once doing one of their open house events, and pickleball was wrapping up before the open house started. And there was some heated discussion about some event that happened between one pickleballer and another pickleballer.
Mm.
I don't know if someone took somebody's ball or took somebody's pickle or what, but it was they weren't happy. So yeah, it gets intense. Aside from the theater, what are your other passions?
Yeah, my family. I love going after beauty in all of its forms. And so seeking after, like, where's the wonder and awe in life? And so, we're members over at Longwood Gardens. Love just like finding all the moments that make you go, whoa. And so often, I have a almost 7 and 9-year-old at home. Like, they see the world through wonder and awe. And so whether it's music or it's nature or it's, a variety of experiences, that's what I love to do in and outside the theater.
Yeah. Yep. Love that wonder and awe way of looking at things. Mm-hmm. So this question always kind of gets people, especially folks that are connected to the community. So it'll be interesting to see how you answer this one. If you play the wonder and awe route and you'll share the discovery, or if you'll be the diplomat. What's your favorite place to dine in Lancaster?
There's so many. So love a good brunch over at Rachel's Creperie. My boys love there's like a robot delivery of your plates at Pancake Farm. So we go there and ask
There's that wonder and awe.
Yeah. We ask it to sing us happy birthday. It doesn't mind that it's nobody's birthday, and we just have it sing to us. This is so silly. I love going to the Exchange to take in, of course, like great cocktails and just an amazing sunset. There it is. There's the robot. For those,
kind of looks like a cross between the one that's at Giant cleaning the floors and the one that's serving pancakes.
Yeah. So the Exchange and Plow have been a joy. And then my favorite dessert, like if I ever was to leave Lancaster, I would come back for Barbara pastries. And so amidst that and, my goodness, a million other amazing restaurants in town, but those are, it's funny. Prima actually has, I think it's like primatheater.org/hotspots. I hope I'm getting that correct. And there's a list of like places that we recommend for folks to go to that are sort of like our top list. And so, that's primarily a lot of like Mitch's favorites. Or Mitch's kids' favorites, depending on the circumstances.
Yep. Love it. Mitch, thank you for playing along. Thank you for being a great guest. And most importantly, thank you for bringing your idea and concept of Prima Theater to Lancaster and giving us all something to really celebrate, to come together around and be invigorated by. So love all that you're doing there. primatheater.org. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. What a fun interview. I know I'm going to get there. Again, I would take up Mitch's challenge, break that status quo, shake up the Etch-a-Sketch in your life, right? Put a new opportunity to tweak and design up that perfect date night for you, your partner, your spouse, your friends, coworkers, your employees. You could be a sponsor. You get a write-off. That's a lot better than taking an expense deduction. I know that. And so check out everything going on there at primatheater.org. As per usual on Lancaster Connects, we have our Sleep Better tip and our testimonials, which Ben's not here to give you that, so I'll give you those. My Sleep Better tip for you is really simple. And I had to suffer through this in our Airbnb when we booked it. It's sometimes difficult to find Airbnbs with a king-size bed. We found a great one. This one didn't have king-size beds, though. It just had queen. And so my Sleep Better tip is to always sleep in the biggest mattress possible that you can, that your room will allow. It's scientifically shown the more room you have to roam and spread out, the better you're going to sleep. My wife and I were joking that we love each other a lot, but we just didn't appreciate bumping into each other on the queen bed because we have a king bed at home. And getting home last night, it literally felt like there was a mile of mattress and bed covers between us, and it was fantastic. So you can get more great sleep tips by going to our website, gardenersmattressandmore.com/sleep-better, and you can get great sleep tips. I had to very much diplomatically handle that. I didn't like being so close to my wife question, but we got through it. It was all right. But yes, if you can sleep in a big mattress, please do it. You'll enjoy it a lot more. Testimonials. So I don't necessarily have one to read, but if you go to our Google reviews, and you can do this on your own or when you're looking us up, you'll see that Google has aggregated words. One of those words is pressure, which is kind of odd because sadly our industry is known for high pressure tactic. But the actual phrase, when you dig into a few reviews, says no pressure. Yeah, right there, Chris, our wonderful producer at Cast Ahead, amazing guy and team for all things podcasting. The funny thing is that I've escalated this with the powers that be at Google numerous times. It's no pressure. That's the phrase. In all the infinite tech wisdom, we can't pull that out and aggregate it as no pressure, but apparently we can't. But the point being, we are a no pressure environment. Actually, Chad, one of our great team members here, had a review come through just recently that I responded to because I respond to all of them personally. That falls under my desk here, my responsibilities. And I replied to one of Chad's about being a no pressure environment, that we were one of 3 stores visited. And just the way we handle and find the right fit is what creates that no pressure experience. And so, Mitch at Prima Theater wants to invigorate your life. We want to dial it back and make it easy and low key and no pressure. And that's our testimonial tip for this show. Love doing these shows. Love being able to bring great people like Mitch to you, expose Prima Theater to you here in our community. They're right around the corner from our store, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit I didn't even know they were there. But I'm so glad they are, and I'm so glad they're part of our community, and we'll get to be there, and I hope you will too, and get to see all the great things going on there. We'll see you next week on Lancaster Connects. Take care.